What is up, everybody? I am PB Squamer, and we're going to start the series that everybody on TikTok wanted me to start, and that's dealership reviews and stories. So, today we're going to start with the used car factory in Mechanicsville, Maryland. Why am I starting with this one? Well, I am slightly afraid that I'm going to start making these videos, and then a dealership's going to be like, hey, that didn't happen, or we're going to sue you for slander, or whatever. So I'm starting with this one because I'm pretty sure it's closed. It's either closed or it's being renovated. I don't know which. The website's still up, but every time I drive by it, there's no cars. And it doesn't seem like they're putting any construction in, so I don't exactly know what's happening. But it seems like they are closing. So I don't know. We're going to start with them. If they open back up and I make this video and they hate me, I'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Starting with the first time I ever went there. I drove out there probably about 2, maybe 3 years ago. And I went to look at the CTSV 2008. It's the first gen of the CTSV. It's got the Corvette engine in it. It is just a sweet looking machine. I really like the way it looks. Personally, I'd black out this part and the wheels, and then it's just a really cool car. Tons of horsepower, tons of power. They had a 2008 for I think 24 to 28,000. That's some higher mileage, but whatever. I was down for that. It wasn't gonna be my daily driver anyways. So I went out there. The guy was pretty hesitant about me touching it in the first place, but then he was also like, oh, well, there's a deposit or someone's coming to look at it, or for whatever reason, he wouldn't let me drive it. It was either a deposit or someone was coming to get it the next day. Either way, he was like, I'm not letting you drive it. But he wasn't a major jerk about it, so it wasn't that bad of an experience. So that was like a 4 out of 5 on the dealership review on that. It wasn't that bad. It was when the next 2 times I went were the problems. So the next time I went, I drove past the ton and I saw there was a C7 Corvette. It was around 52,000. It was like the base model. It was one of the first years of the C7. And personally, it was this color yellow, and I don't like this yellow. So, but I'd never driven the C7. I was up for a sports car upgrade because I was getting tired of my GTI. That was when I had my Volkswagen GTI. And I was getting tired of it. And I was like, I want a sports car. So I was like, all right, I'll go test drive C7s because it was on my list of many cars to drive. And they had one there. So I was like, why not? And I drove by it. So I went in. And I was like, hi, I'd like to look at this car. And they were like, no. Just like flat out no chance they're going to let me drive it. And I was like, okay, why? And they're like, that kind of car is like the deposit kind of car. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, we require a deposit for you to drive it. It's not like a joyride kind of car. And I'm like, well, it's the C7. The C8's already come out. Like, it's been out for a bit. This car's losing value, but not a ton. But when the C8 came out, the C7 lost value. I mean, that's just how it is. The new gen comes out, the old one loses a little bit of value. On top of it, the new gen is just astounding. So this one just lost value. And I was like, all right. Well, I mean, if you see it that way, that's fine. I wasn't super serious about buying it. I wasn't going to let them do a credit check for me to drive it, nor was I going to put a deposit down because, A, I did not want this color. Like, no chance I wanted this yellow, which is ironic because I really like the C5 in yellow for the Corvette. I have no idea why I hate this. I think it's the differences in yellow. This one's like a bright yellow, and this one's more of like a subtle yellow. But this actually might be my next car if I can find a good price, is a yellow C5 Corvette because I really want to modify one. But I'm going on a tangent. So anyways, they were like, no, absolutely not. And I was like, all right. I mean, it's 52,000. You see me as a young kid, which I hate because I'm like, all right. And, a couple months later, I bought my Charger for more expensive than this Corvette was. So I obviously can afford it or could have afforded it if I had liked it. And they wouldn't even give me the shot to try it. So not the best experience. It was very much like, you're just a kid. You don't know. Even though at the time I had already rented the Audi R8 and the Lamborghini, and I had driven substantially more expensive cars than the C7, but whatever, they wouldn't let me have it. And that sucks, but it was not the worst experience at that dealership. I mean, being judged for being young at a dealership is pretty much going to happen like a good 80% of the time. So, not the worst thing, but it wasn't great. So, I would give that a whole 2, maybe 3 out of 5. So, probably like, I don't know, 6, 8 months go by. I bought my 2021 Dodge Charger. and I had a Charger at the time. I mean, I had it. My dad was actually like, "Hey, they have a Porsche Cayman base. This is the S, but they had it was this color. They have a 2014 Porsche Cayman base." And he was like, "I want to go test drive it. Do you want to come with me?" And I'm like, "Sure." So I absolutely love the way this car looks. It is beautiful on the inside and out. I really wish it had a front splitter. That would be the only thing, because like I don't like how bare the front bumper is. But other than that, it's a beautiful car. We get there, and right off the bat, it was a weird experience. So the third time I get there, the guy comes out and he was like, "Yeah, there's a guy in like Utah who's really interested in this Porsche, but he's foreign, and we like Americans." My dad and I like look at each other and we're like, "Okay." And he wouldn't let it go. He mentioned it like 4 times that he really likes Americans. He doesn't like foreigners. And it was also weird because this guy was like Hispanic. I mean, he didn't have an accent or anything, but he was clearly like Hispanic. And I was like, "Okay." I don't know if it was like his way of being like, I'm gonna bond with these people by telling them I'm slightly racist. So he mentioned it a few times how he didn't like the foreign guy. So they were like, "Are you here to test drive?" And my dad and I were like, "Yes." My dad drives a Z4 BMW, so we both showed up in sportier cars. I had the 392 Charger. He came in the Z4. They were like, "Are you interested in trading it in?" And I'm like, "You know what? I have no self control. If I like this car more than the Charger, and you give me a good price on both, yeah, I'll trade in the Charger today. I don't care." So I told them, I was like, "Yeah, go give me a trade price for the Charger. Go give me a trade price." So we get in, we do the test drive, and it was a great car. The handling is outstanding because it's a Porsche, it's a Cayman, but the power is just non-existent because it's the base Porsche. But what's funny is that we parked it down the street, and we were doing like a walk around of the vehicle. And I think the part that was weird is that we get out and there's a GTS badge on the back, which, if you don't know, there's different trims for the Porsche Cayman. There's the base, there's the Sport, and then there's the GTS, which is like above the other ones. The base gives like a 0 to 60 of like 5.8 seconds, I want to say. Could be wrong. 5.8 seconds. The GTS is like 4.2, which is the same speed that my Charger could. And this car had nowhere near that kind of speed or horsepower, pace, or whatever. So it was clearly the base model. So it just had a fake GTS badge. And you can literally, I mean, if you want to, you can go buy a GTS badge. The one that they had that was on the back was like this one right here. This silver one was on the back of it. So we get back and we're both like, well, I guess it's just a fake badge from the previous owner. We didn't think the dealership did it, but we were just like, I guess the last owner fake badged it. So we get back, and they're like, "What do you think?" And we're like, it was good. It was very great handling. It's very pretty, but it just doesn't have the power I'm looking for, and my dad didn't want to buy it that day anyways. So the woman's like, "Yeah, we figured you guys were kind of just here for the test, for, a joyride." And she said it's super like, ugh-y about it. And I was like, okay. And I was like, "Okay, well, did you like look at my Charger?" And she goes, "No, we knew you weren't serious about trading, so we didn't even really, try to estimate." And I was like, okay. And honestly, I let that part go. I mean, I thought about being like, "Listen, lady, I have no self-control. If I had loved this Porsche, I would have left with the Porsche because I have no self-control. I love cars, and I buy way too many cars." So that part really annoyed me because it's just straight up not true. I would have bought the car if I liked it. I didn't like it enough, but if I had. So there's that. And she said all that, and then I'm like, "Also, just so you know, there's the GTS badge on the back, and it's a base model Porsche." And she was like, "Well, we didn't do that." And I was like, I know. I don't think that you fake badged the Porsche. I'm telling you there's one on there." And I was like, "I assume it's just the previous owner." And she was like, "Well, he wouldn't do that." And I'm like, "Okay, well, there's a badge on there. You have on your website that it's the base. The VIN on Carfax says it's a base. It clearly isn't a GTS. And even more so, the lettering on the back wasn't the same color silver as the GTS that was on there. So clearly it was like an aftermarket, like someone just like on the back. And she was like, well, the last owner, his father is like a big deal around here. So his son wouldn't do that. And I'm like, okay. Like, do you think we put it on there? It's like, lady, there's a GTS badge. It is a base. Someone put it on there. Maybe he got fooled, and the owner before him was like, GTS badge, and that guy was like, bet it's a GTS. But either way, there's a badge on there that shouldn't be there. And she argued with me for like a reasonable, like a long time. Like, I'm like, first off, customer's always right. She should have just let it go and be like, oh, we'll look into that or something. She got immediately defensive. And then she tried to like give me background on the previous owner. Like, I care. I'm not buying the dang thing. So it was just a whole weird experience. The first 2 times I went, the first time was fine. The second time I went, they treated me like I was young and couldn't handle the car. The third time I go, they bring racism into it. They don't take my trade seriously. And then they get mad when I tell them they have a fake badge on the back of the car that they're trying to sell. It was just a whole weird experience. So that was my my experience with this dealership. It wasn't positive. If they are going out of business, I am not surprised. They were not a good dealership. So if they're remodeling and they open back up and they see this, I guess I'll have to deal with the outcomes then. And keep in mind, and this is true for all of my dealership reviews, this is my personal experience. This is not anybody else's. They might have had great experiences with this place. I mean, as of right now, it's got 4.7 stars on Google, but, to me, I didn't like it. I had bad experiences. So, well, that's it for this episode. Please subscribe, like and subscribe, turn on the notification bell. I'll be doing more videos on more dealerships. Honestly, I just need to start doing them. Be honest and just be out there. So, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.